Welcome back to Professional Perspectives. I'm Praneeth, here with my co host Arav. Today, we're shifting gears into the world of finance and product leadership, a space where technology, strategy, and markets all collide.
That's right, our guest is Giridhur Sriraman, VP of Product at Goldman Sachs. Mr. Sriraman works at the intersection of finance and technology, helping shape products that serve clients across markets and geographies. He's built a strong reputation in product innovation and product management at Goldman Sachs. Mr. Sriraman, welcome to Professional Perspectives and thank you for being here with us today.
Really excited to do this with you guys. Really
Yeah,
excited.
yeah, same here. So, to kick things off, can you share how you got started into product and what led you to working at Goldman Sachs?
Absolutely. So the way career fairs work in India is like you submit your applications to a lot of companies and they give you slots for an interview over a couple of priority days in my college, right? I went to IIT Madras and I think back then product management wasn't really a thing. Probably like there were two or three employers in India hiring for it straight out of college. I decided to take a bet and sort of take roles at the intersection of business and technology, which you could say were more product oriented but not really product management. So I joined this consumer goods major called ITC, where I spent about a year or so trying to sort of improve their supply chain, bringing in a lot of digital technologies to there. This is a really really big company, and this company gave me the right opportunity and the landscape to understand how business truly works, like at really all scales and levels, and at the same time also helped me understand how transformative software could be to like improve businesses, make things work faster, and just make sure like the company doesn't need to invest in people to make sure that the gears turn around day in and day out, right? So that way I think that perspective really helped me understand that product management is probably my thing, and I was really passionate about this. A couple of jobs later, I got a call from one of my friends who's working for Apple Card. Apple Card is the partnership that Goldman Sachs and Apple got into, and they launched this card. I think they had launched a little while ago, like 6 months or so earlier, and they were hiring for their new team in India. And that's how I joined Apple Card. I did not join as a product manager. I started out as somebody doing a mix of business strategy, project management, and I was fairly junior back then. I think at that point I identified a niche that really helped me sort of phrase my entry into product management. I realized that risk management was really an important thing for retail banks. Every swipe of a card, whenever you make a transaction, the bank really needs to make the right decision about if it's a fraudulent transaction or not. And I was really motivated by this problem, and I was able to spin off internal products that could serve this use case, and that was my launch pad into product management.
Awesome. So you first talked about how you went into IIT, which is like a very prestigious set of universities in India. Could you talk about your journey to IIT and how it helped you kind of launch yourself into product management at a prestigious company like Goldman Sachs?
Absolutely. Getting into IIT part is not as important as being interested in the whole concept, because you got to prepare for like 2 to 3 years, like really rigorously. You have to spend a lot of hours, and this was before like you had intelligent AI tutors and things like that. So you had to get all available materials and sort of slog through the whole thing. In that time, I really developed a strong curiosity for the whole set of how to learn, right? And it's across physics, chemistry, math, which are the three main subjects for the exam. And I think that really helped me, uh, got me attracted towards both the concept of an engineering degree and like jobs in and around technology where things change very rapidly, right? Like things are not the same what they were 5 years ago. So that uh, changing landscape helped me fuel my curiosity, and that eventually led me here. Yeah, that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, and I can tell that you definitely had like an individual drive for these like new innovations. How much would you say like connections had as a role to get where you are now?
I would say about 50-50, right? You need to do the right things. You need to make sure you push your profile in the right places and develop the right kind of uh, sort of opportunity landscape. And then the right opportunities find you through the right connections. So it's like making sure that your garden is really well kept and the flowers grow and then the bees come. It's sort of that kind of an analogy that I like to think about that keeps me going.
Awesome. And just for our listeners to kind of get an understanding of what you do, could you explain what does VP of product look like in a firm like Goldman Sachs, and what are your core responsibilities on a day-to-day basis?
Got it. Actually, great question. So Goldman Sachs is a huge financial institution that's been around for quite a bit. I work in their wealth management business, where we help high net worth individuals manage their money and their complex wealth and lifestyle. Right. And I specifically am a product manager for their website and digital app through which our clients view their portfolios, take actions like move money, make trades, and get insights about their portfolio and talk to the relationship managers, right? I'm the one of the product managers for this. I specifically lead customization, preferences, and security. So I am responsible for helping our clients customize their experience in the app and on the website, and also responsible for their security across a wide variety of actions that they do on our platform, right? From moving money to uh, like making trades and all of that stuff.
Since you are kind of in both aspects, how would you say developing these financial or trading products differs from consumer or tech products?
Yeah, I think that's also a great question. I've been in this current role for about a year. I think the kind of focus you need to have in building products differs a lot. Consumer products are made to serve millions and millions of people for a small depth of a use case. So, like, you can expect that 80% of your customers come to you with the same kind of problem, and you have to solve that one problem really, really well. For the others, you can have some sort of a automation or some kind of manual flows to assist in that. But whereas when you come to this end of the spectrum where your entire service is being a white glove financial institution for your clients, you gotta do that one core use case at 100% instead of at 80%, right? So that means that you have to treat all kinds of customers with the same amount of care and same amount of attention to detail.
Yeah, so when you were talking about customer input and that 80% to 100% number, what role would you say user feedback plays in financial product development, especially when users are institutional or high stakes like the Apple Card?
I think it does play a lot. Often you can learn from your customers on how your product roadmap should be, and some of your customers could be really at the edge of the field, right? So some of the customers that we serve are probably the kind of people who are able to think of new financial products or like new kinds of asset classes that they want access to, and by serving them we actually enhance the productivity of the whole platform, right? So in a way, tailored individual feedback from customers matter a lot in a setting like my current role, whereas you gotta serve for the median use case when you're talking to a retail perspective for from a millions of customers for you.
Yeah, and it's crucial to balance these. Have you ever had to pivot a product direction midstream? And if you did, how did you manage this decision and execution?
Yeah, a lot of times, right? Can't speak about too many details publicly, but we were really going for this one product that we thought would be a great source of revenue and also a great way to retain our customers. But when the markets changed in like end of 2022 and early 2023, when the markets slowed down, we had to pause and really think if we would do well in that segment. We saw a lot of competitors pull out, and we had to make the rough decision of pulling out and framing our product as a more savings and preserving product over a wealth growing slash investment product. That sort of changed our whole marketing strategy and the way we sort of introduced the features of our product to our clients and customers as well. But yeah, the product launch was still a success, but I would say we were really bummed by why we had to take the pivot. So yeah.
Yeah, and especially in terms of like pivoting and also like how you said pulling out of an idea because it might be too risky or like not effective enough. How would you guys validate whether a new product idea is worth pursuing or whether it's not or like killing early?
I think this is a very difficult question depending on which part of finance or the industry you service. For example, here's how I think about it personally, right? You got to identify some core problems that are really unsolved around you, and in that space restricting to that domain. So if you look at consumer finance, you know that people really want to understand where their money goes, and they want like great deals on things related to their money, right? Like great savings interest and great credit card deals and so on. So there's always some kind of market for that. You sort of identify these core problems and start building around them. uh, and I think the problem that you first want to sort of solve is the problem that will get you the most kind of users, but that is not necessarily the problem that will get you the most amount of revenue. I think you have to think in a fairly long term mindset that way, right? This is when you're building for a retail context. The idea is to understand your customers slowly and start developing solutions as you go along, right? And you have to launch experiments every few or so months, or sometimes even every few or so weeks, right? And if things don't grow, you just gotta kill it, right? And you just go on with this momentum, and with 100 shots maybe like 10 or so land, and that's enough most of the time, right? But this works really well in a mass market, like millions of customers setup. In the other setup where like you only have very few clients or customers or institutions, right, you don't really have that many opportunities to impress them. So like you just gotta pull in all of your team behind you and just get everything together at like 100%, right, or as close to that as possible, and impress one client at a time. And then when you have impressed enough clients, maybe like that number could be 5 or 10 depending on the kind of solutions you provide, word of mouth is a strong way that your product automatically grows, right? And in this kind of a setup, it is difficult to kill early because feedback takes a lot of time to come, maybe a year or so. So there is some balance of patience and some balance of like making sure you still get your money through like a services or some kind of a revenue stream by then, right? And only then you can see the hockey stick growth happen in action.
Yeah, and something I think that's really important that you mentioned was staying up to date on these industry trends. So how would you say you use like methods or skills to make sure you're updated on industry trends like fintech, APIs, and regulation to inform your product roadmap?
That's a great question. I would bucket it into like three parts. Number one is sources. You got to have the right sources for information. The second part is distillation, right? How do you summarize all of these sources? How do you manage them, and how do you retain knowledge of them at scale? And the third one is insights. Like how do you get what is most applicable to you at that particular point of time in your career, at your work, and how do you get there, right? So these are the three broad stages that I think about when I'm looking at information. So for sources, I would say there are like more tech friendly sources like Y Combinator's news platform, which is Hacker News, right? It's a really great window into what new tech shows up every day, right? It's just some place I spend a good 15 minutes on every day, right? And then there are these specific forums and newsletters and sort of, I would say, like websites I subscribe to. There's very specific to like fintech or risk management, cybersecurity, APIs, all of those specific fields. I sort of keep tabs on them from time to time, right? I see what I'm getting attracted to, and then the second part is about like distilling them. I think this is where having system helps you. So I use the system called Obsidian, which is a note taker that also interlinks notes based on your feedback. I've also recently started using Cloud Code along with it because it helps me clean things up a lot easier, right? So whatever I find interesting, I send it to my Obsidian notebook through a Chrome extension, and I work with Claude to sort of sort it in the right place, right? And the last part is the most important part. So all of the first and second part is irrelevant unless you do the last part, which is gain insights that impact you, right? I think that is a little tricky to sort of it's how you find your own way in making meaning out of things. I mean, in the beginning it's sort of difficult, like you really won't know what's really important to you for your project tomorrow, but you just got to have faith in the process, and you will see connections and a lot of relevant information start to appear automatically. So yeah, but you just got to go back to your notes, go back to like what you understood about something, and you can see your perspective changing in your years and months and weeks of experience, right? And then you can learn something from that. So that's how I would say I stay on top of things and like learn new stuff.
Yeah, I think the fact that you're using the Y Combinator news is really important. So this is like a question we ask all of our guests for students interested in that field. So for students interested in product roles in tech, especially in the finance side, what experiences or side projects would you recommend they start pursuing?
I think that's a great question, right? And now it's more easy than ever to build side projects. Like ask your friends what problems they have, right? Like, or you can observe them having some problems at in their life, or it could be members of your family as well. It could be something like, I have a new dog at home, I don't know how to take care of it, right? And try to wipe code solutions for that, and graciously collect as much feedback as possible. Do this for a couple of weeks. You will eventually get to one point where your app is able to give them like one good thing to solve their problems in that particular domain, right? So that could be like a good health checklist for dogs based on symptoms, right? Like you gotta take your dog to vaccination whenever needed, and so this app could help you do that. So I think there are a lot of problems around you. Focus on like one domain that you are attracted to, because passion is the most important driver here in building a vibe coding project, and build something around it, right? And have a collection of a lot of these, and file them under your personal website, and post about them a lot. Something could go viral, right? And that's in your favor. And I think having a portfolio of these products really helps a lot for you to like go forward.
Yeah, so continuing on in this like student kind of realm, what would you say that students from like technical backgrounds who want to move into finance or product management, what advice would you give to those kinds of students?
That's another great question. I think we live in an era where finance and tech are fairly intersectional. So if you're an engineer, you would still be able to contribute to a meaningful extent in a place like Goldman Sachs, right? We hire a lot of engineers every year, from freshers out of college and experienced people and all those. I think see which part of the domain that you're really sort of attracted to, build a small portfolio in that direction, right? And then start reaching out to people in the industry, and eventually you will get enough opportunities that will convert into a job, right? If you want to do that route. The other way is obviously like looking for co-founders in that domain in every YC class, or in many of these other places, and then sort of starting to build ideas with them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I also wanted to touch about the earlier part of your journey about your university and then how it went on from there. So in India, definitely IIT is like a very prestigious institute, and many students view the IITs as like the ultimate goal. How would you describe what comes after achieving that milestone and why it's important to look beyond college?
Yeah, I think college is probably the second stepping stone in your life, right? Like after high school. And yeah, it is important to a certain extent, but it is it is still the second step. You still have a lot of steps to cover as you grow further along in your life, right? I think college is an important place where you have to find out what you like in terms of how you like interacting with people, how do you like spending your time, what are the hobbies you like, and you sort of plant seeds for all of this for the future, right? And I think you have to take it from there. This does not really depend on the kind of college you go to. A lot of it is something that you can still do, especially today, right? And you have to take that agency in building your own life and keeping it going, right? That's how I would sort of summarize my insights from my college life, and that's what helped me and a lot of my friends succeed. Yeah.
And I can see how like you went from how you're explaining how this is just one stepping stone, and then the next is the corporate world. What would you say like your biggest skill or mind shift change was that you had to make when moving from an academic setting into the corporate world?
I think academic world is very focused on input metrics where you have to spend like X hours on something, Y hours on something else, right? You have all your tasks listed out, right? If you spend time on understanding why those tasks are really important, right? Like understanding the why and understanding how it impacts the actual end goal of, let's say, your academic project or like your company, right? I think that transformation happened in me after I got into a job. I think that's something that college in India does not teach you directly. That's what I would say. I think reframing your context into why something is really important and what is that one task that takes you closer to the goal is is the absolute important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And also touching on side projects and also projects that other skills that people might want to build on. What skills would you say are most essential for product management and finance?
Product management and finance is a mix of, I would say, the ability to understand how finance impacts your clients very well. Like this is a mix of some kind of business acumen plus math plus some amount of technology. For example, let's say you want to build in crypto, right? Like you have to understand what that cryptocurrency will help your clients do, and what's the right pricing or like interest rate you should give your clients for that particular use case, right? And all of this is sort of basic math to begin with, right? You have to have these skills to get in there. And the second part is, I would say, more about how understanding technology works. Like if you have to build something, you need to be able to sketch out a plan to do that, right? And sort of come up with a V1 of the most important use case very quickly. So for that, I would say being able to write your thoughts or scenarios out clearly helps a lot. And of course, Claude or ChatGPT can help you with that as well. And framing that into a prototype, right? Here's where I would say some amount of design sense comes into picture. Like depending on the kind of client you serve, if it's retail versus somebody like really complex, you have to uh, have sense of what a V1 UI would look for them. For retail, I'm guessing that should be like fairly simple, two three callouts that stand out to them, focusing on the main use case. While if you're building something for somebody in like hardcore finance, you gotta have like keyboard shortcuts, export to Excel, and stuff like that, right? So that kind of specificity of which part of the spectrum you're targeting in terms of UI UX, a little bit of that would really help you go some a long way.
Yeah, I mean, you discussed a lot on how it's crucial to develop your skills as a high schooler. How do you have any advice on how high schoolers can get involved with these big companies, or would you say it's first important for them to develop these skills?
I think high schoolers can develop, get involved with big companies. I think a lot of companies do uh, organize fairs and sessions through like mini hackathons, right? And it's good to be on the lookout for that. I remember we did sometime in New York. long back. I don't know uh, about how my company exactly does this, but I do know that a lot of companies are tapping into late high schoolers to sort of pique their interest in finance and technology and all that stuff, right? So be on the lookout for these programs. When But at the same time, you also got to hone your skills, right? Like through whatever I just said earlier, by making prototypes, understanding concepts, and so on. So if you do a mix of this, I think you can also be you reach out to corporates at some level. But I do agree that I think they would probably prefer a freshman in college over somebody in high school. But yeah, there's that bias, but still I think it's worth a shot. And there are a lot of places on the internet, like similar to YC, which accept people, elite people from like all kinds of backgrounds. Like that could be like a TL fellowship, or maybe a lot more as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I also feel like personally that it's very important to like take a shot and like try your shot because a shot you don't take is a shot you miss. In I was wondering like in your day-to-day life when we're in at work when working across teams such as like engineering, operations, risk management, or like analytics, how do you ensure alignment and clear communication?
I think you have to have your own personal playbook for understanding how each of these teams work, right? And you have to step into that playbook when you express your ideas or work to them. So when it comes to technology, you have to make them really excited about what your client gets, and how their solution is going to solve that problem, right? And that builds a problem solving mindset in that particular room or that space where this conversation happens, and that takes it forward really quickly, right? Whereas when you're talking to somebody like compliance or risk, you have to be really razor sharp focused on how this will not affect the company or the customer in any bad way. And you have to do your background research on like maybe regulation or past precedents of where things have not worked, and sort of tell them that hey, this is how we are solving this. So I think the problem solving mindset is really important, but arming yourself with the right background when you enter any conversation is equally important, right? And both of these together will help you form a playbook on how do you talk to each stakeholder in your company. It could also include your customer, by the way, in the list of things that you just said. But yeah.
And so, suppose like there is a lesser experienced teammate on these teams. How do you mentor them and support them to ensure that you are able to succeed with your goals?
I think the most important aspect of this is giving the opportunity. So I make sure that the new members on my team really get exposed to all the projects that we are working on, and they are able to contribute whenever they feel like they want to, right? And as a senior member of my team, it is also important that I credit them and give them feedback and visibility on their contributions as and when possible. And that's really part of a culture in Goldman Sachs as well. So, yeah, I would say giving the opportunity and giving the feedback and visibility for their contributions is really important to help them grow, right? And I think the other things will take care of themselves.
Yeah, and I feel like you were talking about earlier how technology has changed from like 5 years ago to now and how you can utilize it better. How has the product landscape at Goldman Sachs specifically evolved since you started or like in the last 5 years?
I think I would say a lot of financial companies still don't have a product mindset yet, right? You will only see that in the new startups of the world, like Ramp or Brex or companies like that. The old guards like Amex or GS still have very relatively fewer product managers compared to the newer companies. So the culture is still growing. Like when I joined Goldman Sachs, I would say I was probably the 100th PM or something, right? There were probably not even 100 PMs back then. But then I think we have a reasonable population of 500 people now, and the culture has grown internally. So people are beginning to understand the working backwards methods, and sort of understanding how to take customer feedback, uh, have a clear cycle of how do you go from customer feedback to a product roadmap to actually developing it and testing it for your customers, right? So all of these foundations of product management, I think I saw really evolve a lot from 5 years ago to now. And I think we have also reached a place where we have our own sort of design playbook for how do we want to solve one particular problem from a UI UX standpoint. So we have become fairly mature in that aspect as well. So I see product management at GS evolve in this way so far. And I think with AI, we have also been able to improve a lot more on our development milestones. We're able to ship faster, we're able to collect feedback faster, we're also able to articulate our customer needs better. So yeah, let's see where that takes us over the next few years.
Yeah, and I can really see and visualize how much development has occurred. But looking back, what's a lesson or a mistake from earlier in your career that shaped how you approach this product leadership today?
Yeah, I think I remember this some from I would say 2 or 3 years ago, where I was really focused on getting things done, and not really caring about customer feedback in the beginning, right? uh, because at some level, like, you would think that, hey, you've done all this research so far and you've started building this, so maybe this is the right thing to do, right? So I think that really proved me wrong at a couple of points early on in my journey. And I started developing the ability to listen to both sides, right? There are some times where you have to put your head down and like just go forward. There are some other times where you have to listen to the market and like respond to them quickly in a way that helps them immediately. So I sort of learned the ability to balance both from that particular incident.
Yeah, and also I wanted to touch earlier on what you're talking about, how like academic versus professional life, how it was different and there's like different outputs. I was wondering, in terms of success, what does success mean to you personally at this stage of your career?
I think success to me means that the I have the freedom to develop my own product roadmap and build it out and take it to customers at a large scale, right? And that the customers are also happy with it and they continue paying for the overall infra that they pay for. So I would define my success at work in this particular perspective. And I want this to grow as the parts of the product I cover or parts of new things that I build grows overall. So right now I cover areas ABC. I probably would want to add more value to my clients by making more areas EFG, and yeah, looking at their response. That's how I would look at my professional growth, in addition to the other people management and leadership and strategic aspects of it.
Yeah, and now going a little bit into like your lifestyle too. How do you balance your work and personal life with a demanding role like yours?
I think that's depend on how you have to build your life in a way that you make choices that you don't regret in the future, right? Like, you gotta have time for your passion many times a week, I would say. That can be pickleball, that can be paddle, that can be board games, that can be music, whatever that you are interested in. I think you should have that time slotted out and you should religiously stick to it, right? At the same time, work means completely at work, right? Like, you got to tune in 100% to what you're doing whenever you're working. So I think being religious and sticking to a schedule that works for you, that fulfills your passions, really helps you out in the long run.
Yeah, and then also along with sticking to a routine outside of work, what qualities do you think distinguish a great product leader from a good one?
This one's little difficult for me to articulate as well because it's something I'm still learning on the go. But I think the greatest product managers have the ability to listen to people really well, like around them. It could be stakeholders, customers, friends, family, right? And what listening really well means is that they are able to make sure that the counterparty feels really good about the problem, feels empowered to solve the problem, and is also encouraged to share all the problems with the listener, right? So I think from that perspective, being a very good listener or learning to be a better listener is probably the one that makes uh, the separates the good from the great product managers.
Yeah, and again, going a little bit into your college life, was the environment at the IIT like more competitive or collaborative for you, as you are surrounded by many like-minded people who are also very competitive themselves? And how did this impact your career mindset?
I think that's a great question. Early on in the beginning, it does feel really competitive because like the JE exam is very competitive, and there are only finitely many seats, and many more people compete to get those, right? But later on you understand that having a competitive mindset obsessively does not help you, because it uh, puts you against each other, and that's does not always lead to great outcomes, at least in the long term, right? So a lot of our hobby and project clubs at IIT were really focused on instilling this collaborative mindset within all of us. So I attribute that to a lot of those that I was part of. I used to be part of the quizzing club. I used to be part of the computer vision group, and all of these were chances for us to collaboratively explore the world and like get access to new problems and opportunities to solve them. So I think framing going towards a more collaborative mindset early on is really really helpful for your career as well, because at the end of the day, if what you do makes your company grow and you are able to have a even a small team sort of be responsible for that actively, I think that would definitely take you places. I'm not saying that competitive mindset is wrong. You also need it in some times, right? When you have like competitors in the market, you have to make sure you have to take a certain decisions to make sure you get ahead of them. In those points of time, I think that is really important. But I would say having a more collaborative mindset generally over the long term of your life helps a lot more, and IIT gave me the chance to develop that as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the part about like it's important to balance that competitive and collaborative efforts. And also, I thought it was really interesting about how you're talking about going into clubs and being involved in extracurriculars. As most of our audience is in high school or going into college, if you could go back to your college years, would you how would you approach your time at college, and what things would you change or do different?
That's a great question, by the way. Yeah, I think how I would replay my college life in a way is that I would seek out to try even more diverse things. I probably tried out three or four things. I would probably maximize it to like 10 or even 15 early on, right? And then like really, really double down on the one or two of those that I really like. Like this includes things across sports, parts of academics, various kinds of extracurriculars, like maybe even quizzing, MUNs, and maybe like even robotics, all of this included, right? I think you got to try out a lot of things very quickly and double down on the couple ones that you really like. And especially if you're in high school, you also need to gravitate towards the kind of people that you more closely resonate with in for college, because you will get to spend a lot of time with them for the next 4 or 5 years or however long your degree is. And picking the right set of people to do all of this with like really goes a long way, right? They end up being like friends for the next 10 or 20 years. So yeah, uh, that's also an important perspective to have when you're doing these things.
Yeah, this has all been like great information, and slowly, finally, to starting to wrap. What would be one piece of advice that you would leave with young professionals who are excited about combining both technology, finance, and product?
I think the really key advice for young professionals is to try out a lot of things, right? And develop a wide portfolio and not be afraid to share their work to the broader audiences through like Twitter or LinkedIn or any of these social medias, right? And that's how they can broadcast their ideas and solutions to a much larger portion of their world, much beyond who they directly interact with.
Mr. Sriraman, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights and experiences with us. Your approach to product, risk, and innovation is truly inspiring.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening who's interested in product roles, especially at the intersection of finance and technology, I hope this conversation gives you both direction, confidence, and also actionable advice that helps you decide what to do in your career.
Thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Professional Perspectives. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow and share it.
And we'll see you next time. Until then, make sure to keep exploring your professional perspective.